Hello, friends. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel if you are a regular visitor here. My name is Jennifer Vanderbeek of scrapsoflife.com, and this is our creative week as of Saturday, December 2nd, 2023. And confession, this is actually our creative 2 weeks because last weekend, and I kept thinking at the beginning of the week, okay, I'll make it up. I'll do one on Monday or Tuesday. Yeah, that didn't happen. For a reason. I don't like giving excuses, but there are reasons things happen. And there was a significant change in the status of one of my relationships for the unfortunate. And so a little down, a little blue. I mean, I still am, but yeah. So that happened, and I between Thanksgiving and all of that, I was just I was out of it. I was not up to her, unfortunately, and I'm sorry to say. However, the update that I would have given last week was going to be very much like the previous update in that I worked on sewing the continents and I worked on my portfolio. So it was really a rinse and repeat kind of week with the addition of getting creative in the kitchen with Thanksgiving preparation. Now, the holiday itself was nice, was very nice. Todd and I enjoyed all the food we made, and we were able to, make use of all the leftovers days. And on Sunday, normally I don't like make over the leftovers. We just on them until they're done. I looking for a little bit different to do, and rolling through a list of things to do with Thanksgiving leftovers on foodnetwork.com, I saw a turkey soup with stuffing dumplings. I almost said meatballs, but I was like, that's not right. No, stuffing dumplings. And I'm like, huh? Now, of course, they were using the like dried bread cube stuffing for this, but I'm like, I'm going to use my cornbread dressing, which is like cornbread and the vegetables and the stuff from the stock and lots of shredded dark meat. And like I make stock with leg quarters, chicken leg quarters, and then stock and the vegetables from the stock and the shredded meat goes in with the cornbread to make cornbread dressing. And so I'm like, well, okay. Essentially, all I have to really do then is take the cornbread dressing, break it up a little bit. It was well seasoned enough where I didn't have to really add anything there, but they did say adding an egg or two to work as a binder. And I'm like, okay, we can do that. So I made little dumplings. They kind of look like matzo balls, but obviously were not. And dropped those in. I used the rest of the stock that I had that I didn't need to use the gravy, as well as the gravy that was left over, and more vegetables, and even some of the roasted root vegetables that we made as a side dish. I pulled out the carrots, the parsnips, rutabaga, items like that. I left the Brussels sprouts and beets and other things out, but I grabbed some of those, not all of them, some of them, and threw those in, made a soup with them, diced up some of the leftover turkey, and then dropped in the little dumplings. And oh my goodness, that was an amazing, amazing leftover rework. So yeah, I'm gonna have to keep that in mind for futures, or just make some chicken soup and make cornbread dumplings to go in them. I mean, either way, it was rather tasty. Yeah, so there was that. But speaking of the sewing projects, let me go ahead and show you where we are. So I'm almost finished. I'm on the last continent, but of course, I'd shown you a couple of times, I believe by now, Eurasia. So there's Africa, and Antarctica, which the camera is not going to like because it's the white balance. Woohoo! Um, well, Australia, which I say little, but if hold on, I'll show you in a moment. But here's South America, and I say Australia is little because we think of it as small because it's a single country as its own. I mean, it's an island. What differentiates an island from a continent? This is what I'm wondering. Is it square miles? Is it I wonder. I'm This just occurred to me. I may have to look that up. But, we think of Australia as being this, petite little island country out in the, southern hemisphere. But compared to the United States, I mean, this is North America here. This is like Baja California over here. This is Florida over here. Canada starts somewhere around here. Hello. Australia isn't that small. Perspective is everything. And you're like, well, are these actually to size? I traced them off of the globe. So we're going to hope so. We're going to hope so. And then, yeah, so here's North America. This is the one I still have to finish. The entire, let's see, West Coast from the tip of Alaska down through Central America and back up. And I've made it around Quebec. This is Quebec up here. And then this little cutout area that I'm poking my finger through, that is apparently the Hudson Bay. And then so I have like I think they're called like the Baffin Islands up here and other bits. I have to do the top of Alaska still, and I have to do Greenland. So yeah, so this is coming along. And something I noticed a couple things, not just the fact of how big Australia really is in relation to the rest of the continents. I noticed something else. So like I've shown you guys Eurasia, and I know it's kind of weird and floppy and there's lots of outcroppings and stuff, but I feel like at least from the North American perspective, the United States public education perspective maybe, we don't see the continent of Europe or Asia or Eurasia represented as much iconographically. In iconography or iconically. No, not iconically, but anyway, Africa. Most people, especially if you grew up in like the 80s when there were a bunch of movements to help folks in Africa and so forth. But I feel like Africa is a very recognizable shape. Australia is even a recognizable shape. South America is a recognizable shape. Of course, North America. Um, but I don't feel like we are as familiar on this side of the pond with Eurasia as a continent. I mean, we see it, it's on the globe, but it doesn't stand out on its own. It's more that we recognize the shapes sometimes, or at least of certain countries within the continent, but not the continent as a whole. So, anyway, that was an observation I made just from my own education and knowledge bank, which granted my geography skills have never been the one that I'm going to brag about. Uh, that was not my key subject, let me tell you. The other thing I noticed and kind of made a joke to a friend about, in that as I am finishing the continents themselves, I am doing a very small uh, buttonhole stitch, which is like a blanket stitch. If you've ever done a blanket stitch, these are just blanket stitch, but very, very close together so that they create a very, they really encapsulate the cut edge and reinforce it and stuff. It's also makes me think of like the like patches, like sew on patches or iron on patches. they have that really tight stitching around the edge. Yes, sometimes that would be like a zigzag stitch or an applique stitch or whatever, but it made me think, haha, how funny, I'm making patchwork patches. I said this to a friend, and their reply was, huh, yeah, it does look like that. And what would be really cool is if the oceans were denim and you applied the continents to those like you would a vest. And I'm like, that's brilliant. I'm like, that usually when people make suggestions, I'm like, thank you for your input. I have a plan. But this one, I was like, it was not what I had planned, but it was such a good idea. I'm like, it's not like I've put in any work into the oceans yet. I have fabric pulled out for it, but I have not started cutting. I have not started piecing. And honest to goodness, making the oceans denim would it would look so great with these attached to them. So yeah, that is what's going to happen now. And it also led into thinking ahead to the next part, because not only am I creating a globe in my patchwork style, well, my patchwork style, it's a style that has long existed, um, and had a craze in the Victorian era, as the crazy patchwork and so forth, and crazy quilts are still a thing. And so it's not my style, but it is the style I have adopted, with a nod in not appropriating but appreciating and applying to this project and others. Very careful in that. But yeah, it just the whole point of this was also to highlight all the different parts of the world where we have issues that are causing habitat loss and climate change and pollution and extinct animals going extinct and all of that. So I'm like, oh yeah, that brings me to the next part of this, which is how do I represent that in a somewhat cohesive manner? And now that we're kind of the royal we at this point now, we're kind of envisioning this as a like a denim vest with all these patches on it. Like, oh yeah, we got this. We absolutely got this. So, I'm really excited about that. Really excited about that. Now, as to the other thing that I was working on in the last update, which was my portfolio website, I went ahead and added two more pages. One about my oh gosh, what was the third one? I had the patch menagerie, which is this sort of thing, and the sculptures and everything. I had the illustrations. I had surface pattern design. So I had some of my surface patterns, like the dresses that I created the patterns for with my Just Desserts drawings on them and so forth. Some other things that I had done in the past. So I have a page for that. And I have a page now for it that's called like "And the Rest," which just has some miscellaneous stuff that I'm really proud of, like the board game I designed for a friend and colleague and things like that. So I got that to the point where I was like, okay, I feel good about this. This is phase one is complete. There is at least a phase two, if not a phase three, to be done. But phase one is complete. I can send this out and not, feel weird about it. So I did. The week of Thanksgiving, I actually did send out an introduction and a link to the website to a, I guess, a talent. Is the talent agency the right? Is There's an illustration agency that had posted an open call on LinkedIn called Astound Us, I believe. I don't know. It's part of they use It's Me, ITSM, to screen and kind of meet with but there's like 7 or 8 different agencies that are I don't know if they're interconnected or if they're, I don't know if it's an umbrella or it's just these agencies that all use It's Me to audit portfolios that are sent in. However, it's done. They take them to each one, and everybody reviews the portfolio and sees, it's like, do they have something their that their clients or that their stable of illustrators needs. And so I sent that in. I got an auto response that says, thank you. We will, review your submission, and it can take up to 4 weeks. It's only been one. So I have at least 3 more weeks before I could hear something back, but I did it, sent it out. And I will continue to submit my portfolio when opportunities arise. I've got a list of places, of agencies that handle that sort of thing that I can reach out to. And so I'm doing my best to put myself out there and see if I can get some contract work. That would be fabulous. But yeah, that was the other thing. So now this past week, again, finishing up the continents, I I have to admit it is now December and I am still not really in the Christmas spirit. And yeah, with everything going on, it's not exactly a shock, but I'm not. And I'm like, I don't want to be a humbug this year. I don't want to just, pass it off and be like, whatever. Yesterday, for first, I trudged my way into the Christmas closet, which is the closet in the library. And it's very, it's musty, and I need to clean that whole thing out. Like, like the dehumidifier stuff in there, like air it out, go through all the things that were in there because some of it might just need tossed. Isn't not great. But I knew I had a simple um, artificial tree in there that I'd bought originally for the library, because my idea when we bought this house was that, ooh, I'm gonna have fun out, like for Christmas we'll have decorations in each room. There'll be like a tree or something. Maybe not the bathroom, but you know what I mean. In all the other rooms. But yeah, that didn't happen. I mean, I got about 3 rooms. I had the living room, the library, the dining room. I had like a tree sort of set up, and and then we would have one upstairs on the landing. So 4. You can count 4. At most, we had 4. But then life happened, and I have not revisited. However, I knew I had this tree. Well, come on. At least we can dig it out, see if it's in still decent shape, put it up. So last night I did. I had planned to do this early enough in the day to where I'd have it all set up and decorated and let me like, ta-da, until I got home from work. That did not happen. I was still wrangling with the first set of lights by the time he got home. But it was still, I got the lights up, the tree, I put it up on a little folding table. It's a all-purpose kind of side table thing. So it's kind of low. It's not this height. It's not couch sofa height. It's more like coffee table height at best. But it's, what, like 2 feet by 2 feet ish. Anyway, I've got it up on that, which also adds height to this maybe like 5 foot tree or whatever. But also keeps it out of the grasp, I hope, of Duncan, so that we can hang ornaments on it and not have to worry about him absconding with them regularly. So I did get that put up, and the lights are lit. And so last night, as we watched a movie, what did we watch? Oh, we watched the Dungeons and Dragons movie. Not bad, bad. We hadn't watched it before now, and it was fun. So we watched that by the light of my white tinsel tree. And I got out an old knitting project that I had not worked on in a while, and I made a Christmas ball. This is the gingerbread Christmas ball from the Arne and Carlos Christmas Ball Advent um, project 2020. Yes, it's 2023, and I am maybe this isn't quite halfway through, or no, this might be right around halfway set of 24 Christmas balls. A few years back, maybe 2 years back, I make it 2021. That might have been 2020. I don't remember now. I probably started them in early 2021 because that was the thing. I was like, yeah, I'm not going to get these done for actually Christmas of 2020, but if I start now, perhaps I will have them done for next year. So I was working on them every week. That was like my Friday night knitting project. And then, of course, I got distracted by other things, as you do. And I had not worked on them, but I still, had everything together. And so last night I started on the next pattern in the series. It was gingerbread men. I don't know. Some of them look like happy enough. Um, some of them almost look sinister. I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, but yeah, so I got that. Got that finished. I did not finish while we were watching the movie. I was like halfway through, but I'm like, nah, come on, I'm gonna finish it before I go to bed. I have not knit anything probably since I got back from Arizona this last time, which looks like it will be the last time for a long time that I go out to Arizona, but there. Um, and as I started, my body reminded me of how poorly my my body reacts lately to knitting. I have had no real problems with the sewing, even though that's very close, tight work. I really haven't had a lot of hand pain thing. Um, but as soon as I started knitting, I was like, okay, for keeping my elbow bent at this angle, I started to get, pins and needles in my last two fingers on my right hand. And I'm like, okay, so position, and my shoulder is really sore. No joke about these repetitive stress injuries, man. I have got to really reevaluate how I sit and hold myself as I knit. Maybe even like change up the way that I knit so that I can knit without this whole thing becoming a problem. Because I miss knitting. I miss working on projects like this. Of course, I've been more than busy with these. However, yeah, after last night, I'm like, well, I'm gonna finish this one. I don't know if I'm gonna do more this week or next week or whatever. Yeah, and then so finally, let's talk about the elephant in the room. You may have noticed in behind me. It's not an elephant. Guitar. It's flat. Let's see. It's plywood, and um, yeah, it's tall. It's taller than I am, and this is for a public art project for next year. It's called Strings Attached. It's going to coincide with Due South, the local music festival. And yeah, there's at least 30 something so far. I don't know if we'll have 40 people or not, but I think there were 32, 33 um, when I picked mine up. And we are decorating these large guitar cutouts in and paying homage to Southern guitarists. I have Billy Gibbons from ZZ Top, the guy with the beard. Actually, there's two guys with beards, but this is the lead guitarist and lead vocalist. So, yeah, this is going to be a project I'm going to be working on for the next few months. I have to turn in my concept idea sometime next week. I have his biography coming. I mean, he's still alive and kicking. They're still touring, I think. You might have seen him as Angela's father in Bones if you watched that series. Yeah, interesting man. He's from Texas, and I'm gonna have fun. I'm gonna have a lot of fun creating this guitar. And then it's gonna be on display in April of next year. So that is what's going on with that. Um, and that about wraps it up. I actually have a life drawing, not class, but group I'm going to tonight. So I've done that in a while. And I'll of course be working on the continents more, moving on to the globe. I still need to create like the different island chains and so forth that also need to be represented. And so yeah, it'll be interesting to see where I get by next weekend on the Patchwork World Patch World project. I'm still fiddling with the name. It's okay. Thank you so much for tuning in to hang out with me again. I hope you have had a good holiday if you celebrate the American Thanksgiving, or if you prefer to celebrate the Indigenous Peoples Day. Um, However you choose to honor and celebrate, or if it's merely a good time to get together with friends and family, however you do it, I hope it was well for you. And for those who don't, well, I hope you had a good Thursday. I am happy to be back and on track. I know I can't believe that we're in the last month of the year. I mean, I can and I can't. And I'm looking ahead towards next year and deciding, how this weekly video series is going to change, because it's going to change a little bit. And yeah, just looking forward to all sorts of things. So I hope you have something to look forward to, and I hope you will do your best to take care of yourself. And in so doing, find a way to get some creativity into your days, because creativity has a way of helping us relax and feel better about ourselves and improve our mental health and all that good stuff. And so I wish that for you. Until next time, bye bye.